Welcome to the live show. So, again, we're started a little early. Welcome, welcome. It is my favorite time of year. It's Halloween. For those that are unfamiliar with this show, we do this obviously once a month, but this is kind of the special one. Everybody gets dressed up. Everybody has an adult beverage. But if you're new here, this is kind of how the rules break down. And let me toss chat up on screen as well, so I can see it. And there's a 30-second delay, so if you guys have questions or anything like that, let me know, and I will probably answer it late. So we'll see how that goes. And you probably actually want to see a coral background too. There we go. So welcome all. Again, we started a little early. Just so we can get set up here, make sure that there's no technical difficulties. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you cannot, okay? So, Captain Over, what beer number is this? This is going to be beer number 1, and there's not going to be a whole lot after beer number 1. We'll see. So, I'm drinking, this is Goose Island Oktoberfest. I figured it's good for this time of year. It's supposed to be dried apricot and toffee, which is a weird combination, and sure enough, it does kind of taste like that. Somebody said I look like Jack Sparrow. Boy. Okay, guys. So these are the rules. If you want to purchase coral, it's for the U.S. crowd only. Go to TidalGardens.com and the live sale page. To actually get corals, you have to check out with them. It's not good enough to just have it in your cart. The shipping, flat $39.99, and it's free over $250. What a lot of people do is just to get the coral, they place multiple orders, and at the very end they add that $39.99. There's like a little shipping module you can put in there, or you can pay shipping on one of those orders. And just to make sure that you just get one of those in there, if you happen to pay for shipping more than once, don't worry about it, we'll just refund you. Alrighty. Should probably also say, why, thank yous to the Patreon crowd. Alright, so these guys have all donated at least $5 per video. Or it's more like per month. I only do the one video per month thing for Patreon. So thank you very much, guys. Phil, Mark, Robert, Steve, Ryan, Dave, Nate, Nancy, Jeff, Samuel, Matthew, Mark, Travis, and Kevin. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tidal Gardens. And thank everybody for joining in. So it looks like we've got a good number of people cycling in. Raymond Ettermarks, what are you? Chat. Who am I? There you go. Jack Sparrow. Yes. What makes this best is Than talking very serious. This getup makes me want to like lower my voice. It's lowering my booming voice. Alright guys, almost ready? Let's go ahead and get started onto this live show. So, Ben is the only one with me today. So there's a local frag swap going on right now up in Cleveland, and my parents are up there shopping, so no mom and dad. So I sent a picture of me just wearing this Aquaman shirt to some friends, and they're like, "Oh wow, you got a cool Aquaman shirt." Sent it to my mom, and she's like, "Why are you dressed like a pineapple?" It's like, "Thanks, Mom. Thank you. Thanks for getting all these hip cultural references about it, like a superhero that's been around since the 40s." All right. So Ben is here, and we're probably gonna spend 30 seconds-ish per coral. Don't stay slavishly to it. If a coral's closed up, we're gonna move on. Alright guys, So number 1 here, it's the green agave zoas. And make sure I'm looking at the right display here. It's too much work, all this costume stuff. Managing live chat. So when you see the blue light, we have a little LED flashlight to kind of bring out any kind of fluorescence that you might be seeing. We mainly use Coral Plus and Blue Plus T5s. And so that kind of gives, it's a blue look, but it's more daylighty than you would see under, obviously, full actinic.
Number 2.
Somebody said, I look like wet Dumbledore. Oh, goodness. He's called Drogo. I'm sorry, but I have to give myself a lot. I look a lot more like this dude than I ever thought I would. Because, you know, you see like the costume, you know, package. It's like, yeah, whatever. Whatever. It's like, I don't look anything like that actor. But it's like, once you actually put it on, it's like, that's a lot closer than I was expecting. How hot is that wig? It's actually not terrible because it is bitterly cold outside. Real talk, is Ben in costume? He doesn't do it. I think he might be like a Jehovah's Witness or something. He's not allowed to celebrate.
Number 4.
Rico's Reef. What's up, everyone? Rico, livestream king. It's like, wrong Rico. Yeah, it's like Rico's Reef tank is Rico from live show. Speaking of Rico, I haven't seen him do a live show in a while. Have I just missed it, or is like YouTube just hiding it from me? I don't know. Like, if you guys can in chat let me know, like, where's Rico been? I haven't seen a whole lot of activity. Because I remember that he used to be like live streaming like every single day for like 12 hours or something. Lawson said Ben should be Aqua Lad.
Come on now.
Dang. Ah, he's taking a break. Okay, I gotcha. You know what YouTube is? YouTube takes a lot out of people. Like, it's harder than it looks.
Number 6.
I mean, look at all this hair I had to grow out in a couple weeks to do this show. It's hard. To lift all them weights, grow all this hair. Brian Goldstein, Dan, are you gonna go see Justice League? I probably will. I'm sure that the early reviews are not going to be very good, but I tend to enjoy these DC movies. I mean, even though they're flawed in many ways, I enjoyed Batman v Superman. I didn't feel like that was like the most garbage movie of the year that like some people said. I actually liked it. Was it a great movie? Not so much, but enjoyable enough. And I have to say that I'm not always so forgiving on quote-unquote the bad movies. But yeah, I do plan on seeing it. Regardless of like how bad the rest of it must be, I mean, Wonder Woman was so good, and she's gonna be in the movie. It'll work out, hopefully. Aquafan. Very nice, Brian.
Number 8.
Rico is at the frag swap today, so he'll probably run into Mom. Ben can be Shark Boy. or who's the fish in The Little Mermaid, Sebastian. JYB818, first trip to your live stream. Love your videos. Thank you for doing all your efforts. Oh, thank you for joining us. This is a slightly goofy first time with us, but it's usually fun regardless. And I heard good things about the new Thor movie. I didn't like read into any of the spoilers or anything like that, but I'm probably gonna go see that. Okay, so how much does it cost to ship a single frag? Our shipping is a flat rate, so it's $39.99 regardless of how many you purchase. And if your total goes over $250, it ships for free. So, my friend Nathan, who you've probably seen his tank on my channel numerous times, extremely manly mustaches all in my mouth. He, when his daughter was really little, he dressed up as like a sea anemone with balloons, and he dressed up his little daughter as Nemo, a little clownfish, and he just took her to a little party, and I took that and I put it on Reddit, and it ended up going to the front page. The reason why I brought it up was somebody was saying that Ben should dress as Nemo. Okay. Arthur Stenson. Hi from Sweden. Hello. A question about euphilia. They don't sting each other? Is it true for all kinds of euphilia, or are there exceptions? So here's the thing. They do all sting each other, but generally speaking, when euphilia sting each other, it's like two cats kind of fighting. They're not going to like kill one another, but they are doing battle. You can have them close to each other. They're going to be all kind of bumping into each other. They might even send out sweeper tentacles, but at the end of the day, it is very unlikely that one euphilia is the reason for another euphilia's death. If you do run into that issue, check other reasons as well, because when it comes to aggression towards one another, it's not typically pronounced. Propagating Reef. Hello everyone. Nice costume fan. Thank you very much. And welcome. Yeah, as far as superhero movies, I see that Trills likes Doctor Strange. For some reason, I'm harder on like the Marvel movies than I am on the DC ones. Even though the Marvel ones are probably better, there's just something about Disney. They like to make really safe movies, and I'm not always crazy about safe kind of corporate-y movies like that. But I really liked Captain America: Civil War, because I mean Captain America, I like how they took that direction into like political thriller land. But I was just trying to think like what other superhero movies that I really enjoy. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I don't know, Ben. Have you seen any superhero movies you really liked?
Wonder Woman was great.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I kind of like the Avengers movies less than other people, unfortunately. Guardians of the Galaxy, it's okay. It's alright. Like, Suicide Squad, I hated. Deadpool's pretty good. There you go, Olga. Good call. I keep on forgetting Deadpool, but I did enjoy it. So Rico's Reef. Do you have any method of getting rid of red turf algae? So turf algae is tough because there's not a lot of things that like to eat it. The sort of things that do are going to be things that typically eat algae pretty slowly. So you're talking about like big Mexican turbo snails. You're talking about urchins, that sort of thing. So your best bet is to take the rocks out that you can. I mean, I understand that sometimes corals are growing on these rocks and it's not exactly feasible. But if you remove the rock, take it out and kill everything on it, bring it back later, you'll actually have the best success doing that way. Turf algae is very, very, very tough. Batman, Dark Knight, and Iron Man. Yeah, those are really good. Yeah, I think that if you're going to talk all-time great comic book movies, it's hard to find a better one, in my opinion, than The Dark Knight. And now, like, Christopher Nolan is way too expensive for another comic book franchise to snap him up. He can do his own damn thing now. Ignacio Acosta, do you have any Euphilia today? Do we? We have literally one. Euphilia are tough. I'm getting some from a local hobbyist here soon. He basically said, do you want me just to sell you all of my Euphilia when it comes available? And I was like, yes I do, because it is that difficult to get good Euphilia that survive. That's the biggest problem. A lot of times when we import Euphilia, they struggle a lot. A lot of times, like especially the Australian ones that I really like, they tend to be a lot more challenging. Yeah, everybody's chiming in with Dark Knight. Some guy said I looked like Charles Manson. I could see it. I could see it. Speaking of Charles Manson, nice segue, guys. I do this professionally, can you tell? One series that I watched the other day, I binge watched it on Netflix, was called Mindhunter. And it's about like the early FBI efforts into profiling serial killers. And Charles Manson, they bring him up. He's not in the show, spoiler, but it's really well written. It's really well directed. So if you have like a few extra hours you just want to blow on Netflix, check out Mindhunter. It was done by David Fincher, and who's one of my favorite directors all time. And yeah, Fincher always seems to do that kind of like that true crime thing going on. Obviously, he did Zodiac, if you're familiar with that movie about the Zodiac killer in San Francisco. And this kind of more or less expands on that type of theme, but it's very, very well done. And I don't know if you guys also are binge watchers like me, but I totally was binge watching. So this is why, like, see all this dark stuff around my eyes. That's not makeup. That's me like binge watching Stranger Things last night, really late. And of course I'm joking. Megatron says, Chewbacca selling corals now? You know, it's a really good thing that I have like my CGI trident here. Otherwise, people would have no idea who the heck I was supposed to be, apparently. Oh my gosh. Oh man. These people got the jokes. Give you guys credit. Keep them coming. Yeah, Lawson just started Mindhunters. He's gonna binge Stranger Things. Stranger Things is alright. I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of like, you know, if you like that movie Super 8 or season 1 of Stranger Things, you'll probably like season 2 of Stranger Things. If you're a child of like the 90s, 80s, 90s, which there are fewer and fewer of us every day, I realize, but you can appreciate some of the references. Type 40, hey Than, hey stream, what's up? Glad you could make it. Type 40 is like saying, this dude's like Radagast from The Hobbit. You know, It turns out that this little wig and beard, I could see a lot of good uses for it as far as a costume in the future. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah, any part Jason Momoa is done.
Yeah, anything Jason Momoa has ever done. Because he's like the same dude in every show. Radagast from the Hobbit. He had like bird droppings in his hair though. But no, I get it. Radagast the Brown. That's a good one. Gray Coraline. Dubsy Dabster. No, that's pretty uncommon. I would almost think that it's more likely that it's not Coraline, but it could be like sponge even. Because there are certain types of sponges with weird color like that that more or less look smooth like Coraline algae. Okay, so Ryan's Reef Tank. When will items actually ship? I'm out of town for a few days starting tomorrow. Okay, so Ryan, if you need a special shipping date, you can always just send us an email and we'll put you on the calendar. We're going to try to send most of our stuff out Monday for delivery Tuesday. But there's already some orders previous to this live sale that are scheduled to go out on Monday. So there are some like physical limitations of the number of corals that we can pack. Usually, like if it's going to be more than 20 boxes of corals going out, we're probably going to have to defer some of them to Tuesday. But we will try to get out most of them Monday for delivery Tuesday. Now, again, if you'd require special delivery, like delivery date, need it later in the week, whatnot, just go ahead and send us an email and we'll get that done for you. So Brian's wondering, are there any Sign Arena today? I think there's one. I'm not sure exactly when. You might have to stick around all the way to the end. But there are Sign Arena today. Someone's like, it's Neptune or Poseidon. You're getting close. Does the shirt help at all? Maybe. Siggy's like, they're just saying you're versatile. We're not typecasting. So here's the thing. I am not Neptune. So Neptune may or may not be able to drink beer, but apparently Jason Momoa as Aquaman in this latest Justice League movie, he can drink. He can drink a lot. Samoan Aquaman. I should totally be Khal Drogo, except I don't exactly know how different I would look. I'd wear like a different shirt. A shirt with muscles. Yeah, like I think that I would just have to do like different face paint essentially, and I could be Khal Drogo. But then I wouldn't be able to speak English for the entire show. I have to speak Klingon or whatever the heck. This dude's like Little Mermaid's dad. I love it. If I add a Kraken to my tank, do I need to add extra calcium? You probably do. Probably do. They're pretty big. Dave Z, what are you drinking? I'm drinking right now Goose Island Oktoberfest. Yeah, it's dried apricot and toffee. It says pleasant hints of. I can definitely taste the apricot. King Triton from Little Mermaid. This is too funny for what this is supposed to be. I agree. I agree. Oh my gosh. You probably offended all the Trekkies, haha. They prefer to be called Trekkers. Yeah, I gotta braid the beard, get some blue, a little bit of blue face paint in there, and I'm called Drogo. So, tell me in chat, are you guys gonna be dressing up for anything for Halloween? And spill the beans here, because people don't know your usernames if it's a big secret, but what are you guys gonna go as? This is, like I said, this is my absolute favorite holiday. I can't get enough of it. Okay. So, Jororo Mouse has a serious question. What would you do if your magnesium is high? It's around 1600 parts per million. How do you get that down faster? So, my number one worry is that your salt might be an elevated magnesium to begin with. And that's kind of tough because it's lowering values like that when your salt already has high magnesium. It's going to be a challenge. So I would test the salt right off the bat to see if you're getting like crazy high values. If you're not getting crazy high values with your salt mix alone, you might want to consider just ramping up the number of water changes to dilute what's going on in your tank. Yeah, I guess it occurred to me that not every country celebrates Halloween. I wonder, is this an American only holiday? So tell me in I mean I know where some of you guys are from, but if you'd like to share, tell me what country you're from and whether or not you celebrate the best holiday that there is, Halloween. Dubsy Dabster was the Grim Reaper at a haunted trail last week and just pointed at people. That's nice. I like it. Okay, Rico's Reef. What do you think of the Aquatic Life Retro T5 Lite? I'm afraid I am not too familiar with that light. So if I recall, Aquatic Life is pretty good. Like, I think that as a brand, they've got a good reputation. So, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it to be extra terrible or anything. So thank you, Nancy. So Canada celebrates. Okay. And so in Israel, there's a different holiday for that. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you guys celebrate in Kekistan. Don't think you got that by me. I get the reference. I played Alliance. I know what Kek means. Do not celebrate Halloween in Indonesia. It's a shame. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Obviously. I mean, I've been, in past years, I haven't even had like a great costume. Like I had an okay costume or something that I could just manage to wear where I didn't burn up. But no, this year, put a little bit more effort into it. Okay, so Donovan Dell, any shrooms today? Yes, I'm sure there are. I haven't looked personally, but I'd be very, very surprised if there wasn't. Okay, so Dwight, you missed my question. Do you remove Montipora from frag plugs? Or do you just let them grow over them? I personally would just let them grow because the whole idea... So not a lot of people like frag plugs, I get it. So we do it here for organization, and we do it for shipping purposes. Like, because we ship everything installed in like a little styrofoam float and everything like that, to try to keep it from moving around. That's why we do it. So, but once it gets in your tank, I get that like people don't necessarily like the look of a plug. But if you are patient just a little bit, it will absolutely cover the plug. And it is way simpler to just to wait and let it cover a plug than it is to remount it and hopefully it stays, because mounting corals is actually a bigger challenge than what most people really expect. So yeah, I would just be patient and let it encrust. So not too many people celebrate in Norway. Okay. Is high calcium really bad or not? Not necessarily. I think low values or high values, while they're not ideal, they're not exactly the end of the world either. One of our systems here has shockingly low alkalinity. Shockingly low. Like, nothing should be alive, low alkalinity. And we're still able to grow some SPS in there. And would it be better if the alkalinity was higher? Possibly. Would it be better if your calcium was lower? Possibly. But I think that stability might trump the actual value that you're seeing. So if anything, if you wanted to try to lower your value, or if we were trying to up our values, just do it super slowly, give everything a chance to adjust to it. Dell, Pavona easy? I would say so. It gets lumped in with SPS, obviously, but it really doesn't have any of those the difficulties associated with what you would consider SPS to have. For example, doesn't really require a ton of light. Doesn't really require perfect water chemistry. Doesn't require a ton of flow. It's fast growing. And if you saw my last video, you probably saw an entire sheet of purple Pavona where we just let it grow, it got neglected, and it just covered our entire acrylic tray. So if you wanted to dabble in the world of SPS, Pavona is a good entryway into that. It'll be easier than most other SPS you'll ever see. Blue Pavona, does it create branches or encrust? It encrusts. Now, I am kind of debating with one of my suppliers because we sold him some, and he is absolutely convinced that the blue is not a Pavona, but it's a Leptoceras. And I'm still on the fence. Now, he sells it as a Leptoceras, which is fine. I sell it as a Pavona. And I'm not exactly sure who's right on that one. He might be right. The blue one could be a Leptoceras. Similar care requirements. It's just kind of like a stickler as to what it really is. So Paul Holden. Hi Than, watching from England. Will sea hares nibble on star polyps? Mine are slowly disappearing since I bought one. Um, I guess it's possible. So sea hares, they are mainly algae consumers, but the thing about sea hares is that they do get large, and anything that gets large like that can tend to pick on stuff, and just by their picking, even if they're not exactly appetized by zoas, might cause damage. I mean, it's slightly related, but we've got fish that don't eat polyps, but just in their curiosity, they'll eat zoas, especially if you just have like one or two sitting around on a plug. They'll just go and they'll sample that. Maybe there's a little bit of algae or something like that that got them curious, and they'll just eat the whole thing. So sea hares, possibly. I mean, that's like a big, giant slug. Tim Webb. I turned in to see Stoner Than talking about his suppliers. Okay. So I just bought a 24-inch T5 lighting system by Corelife. Did I waste my money? I'm somewhat of a novice. No, probably not. I mean, it's really hard to go wrong with T5. We've been using mostly T5 here for a really long time. And Corelife is not necessarily a... I mean, I think Corelife is like an entry-level brand. I think that's kind of like where they live in the marketplace. But not bad. Certainly not bad. Most people, though, they'll want to move away from the Corelife bulbs. I think that by far the most popular bulbs are ATIs right now. Just in terms of like sheer market share, probably amongst like serious hobbyists, I would say that most people run ATIs of some sort. Easy enough to switch out. Alex King. Care for scroll coral. Easy to see polyp extension? Should be. It's not a particularly difficult coral or anything. Not the fastest growing thing in the world, but yeah, very middle of the road in terms of care. The only thing that I would really watch out for is they grow a cup-like shape. And sometimes it tends to collect sediment right in the middle. And if it collects too much sediment, it's going to die off there. So did you buy that bodysuit? Just the top. Just the top right here. It's the old school Aquaman look. The reason why I didn't go with the new DC EU Aquaman is because there's a lot of green in his costume, like a lot more green, and I'm sitting behind a green screen here, so I would just have like a transparent body otherwise, so no. Nothing like that. So Tristan J, thank you. I'm glad you like the costume. I have to say, wearing this long term, it does feel like I'm wearing like a homeless person around my head, but I've done worse. I've done worse. So I have a confession to make. So I've got a lot of T5s here, and I really enjoy T5s. But we're thinking about doing more volume later. And I've been talking to some folks that like they've got larger systems than mine, and they're like, please, regardless of what advantages there are in T5, please consider doing LED for whatever you decide to build in the future. Because just for energy consumption, for heat, for bulb replacement, all of those things, you will save so much by switching over to LED that just give it a thought. Like, try some radions, try some, oh, what are those things called? Not radions, something else. Not Kessel. It's Nathan's got one. It's like, oh boy. Old man brain don't work. I'll think of it, and I'll give him a shout out. That's insane. How can I not remember anything anymore? It's, that's gonna bother me. I feel like I just need to bust open a browser and look for it. But they make some pretty good lighting as well on the LED side of things. No, it's not an AI. It's not an AI. It's something Atlantic. Shits. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna go look on the web. Atlantic LED fixture. Orphec. Orphec. I remember now. Orphec. Yeah, it looks like a Koei shirt, kinda. Sean Crewell is wondering if there's any Millipora today. There might be. Possibly. I mean, half our acros are Millipora, seemingly. They tend to do the best. 53. I've talked surprisingly little about the actual corals, which is also good. But yeah, like the discussion was strongly consider some LEDs. So in the future, I am considering Orphex. I'm considering Gen 4 Radeon Pros. We shall see. Andrew Deutsch, have you seen the lights at Reef LED Lights? I have his DIY kits and they're amazing. I have not. So part of my concern is that with T5, I'm pretty happy with both the growth and the coloration of corals. But when you start to talk about scale, and so like once you talk about scale, it does become harder and harder and harder to justify, because it's not like, oh, you're paying a little bit more in electricity going from LED to T5, but then you have to multiply that by like 100. So all of a sudden now it's like, boy, that little bit more that it's costing is turning into a lot of bit, because you're using so many more fixtures now. So that multiplier effect is coming into play. The other thing is, I'm gonna guess that the vast majority of the marketplace now, the vast majority of my customers, are using LED. And even though I might not get the absolute craziest, best possible color out of my corals, which is like a huge sacrifice, don't get me wrong, the problem is it might not necessarily translate over to their aquariums. There's certain types of corals right now that are super popular, super high priced, and I can tell you for a fact most of those are going to be disappointing once they get into your tank, because really the only established way to get them to that color is using lights that almost nobody uses. Like in chat, let me know how many people use T12 VHO fluorescence and metal halide. I'm gonna go ahead and guess less than 1% of all reef aquarists today use old school VHO fluorescence and metal halide. Like, that's simply not done. Arguably the best lighting ever created for corals, but not that popular. And so some of these items are going to be towards like the higher end, kind of that more niche collector market. But at the end of the day, people are going to have AIs, people are going to have ecotechs. Maybe they have like a T5 LED hybrid fixture, but you're not going to get the same color. Not that the coral's not going to do well or look good, but people buy into like high-end niche corals for a very specific look that might simply be unattainable. So that has me wondering if I should consider LED, even though I've been a T5 honk for like the last 2 years. Seabone Deluxe, do you ever sell orange or yellow colored SPS, like canary yellow? Is there such a thing? Everything is either blue or green. So there's a couple things that might be more of a canary yellow. It's going to be like Porites. Porites can get canary yellow. There might be like Anacropora. That's definitely more yellow than it is anything else. So I would pay attention to those two things. And if you run certain systems like ultra low nutrient, you can get some wacky colors. Might not mean the healthiest colony in the world, but you could get wacky colors out of certain types of Acropora. Chad Hudson, skip the expensive ones. Get the Reef Breeder Photon V2 fixtures. Okay, so I'm not quite as concerned about the initial cost of the lights, because if it turns out if you order hundreds of LED fixtures, they tend to be pretty cheap. I mean, it's that won't be like the biggest the biggest decision-making criteria, I guess. Like, I love these $100 fixtures on Amazon that anybody can walk off the street, log into their computer, and get a $100 fixture from Amazon. That's great. If you were to buy 200 LED fixtures from, think of some high-end LED manufacturer that you know, it would be a lot closer to that $100 price point than you might originally think. So, again, initial cost, not huge, not a huge deciding factor. I mean, if a Gen 4 Radeon Pro, for example, really was the cat's meow and every bit as good as the T5s I'm rocking now, it could be an option for the future. Just throwing that out there. Billy Pipes, no more T5s? No. Everything's on the table. And here's the thing, like this is kind of like the discussion that I was having with some of these supplier guys that are, you know, with the bigger systems. So it's like, look, the corals are going to tell you what's acceptable. If you have a full tank of stuff that's simply the wrong color, guess what? You have to change your lights as a seller. Like, they dictated to you what they want. End of story. You cannot move junky looking corals. Not that Radeon Pros are going to get you junky looking corals. I'm just saying as an example. Like, moving away from one methodology which gives you the results you want to another of any kind that's not giving you what you want. Careful with that, right? Okay. Okay, so you've done LED before. What will you do different? It's not going to be in a greenhouse. So this is like a future expansion sometime. You should try some high-end black boxes with a warranty. Maybe black boxes got a lot better, but pretty much all like the serious wholesale dudes that I know with big aquaculture setups going on, they all started with black boxes. And they all eventually transitioned out of black boxes into something else. They all use different things, but almost none of them continued to use black boxes. And I think it's because the real draw to black box is that price point. But when you buy at such volume, again, price point is less of a thing. Reef Eco. Dan, you are looking so hot. Thank you, because I'm not looking like myself. Thank you. I appreciate it. Engineering aquariums. What the hell is Than? Really? Like the drinking, the trident didn't give it all away just yet. Vandy, just get Ecotech to sponsor your YouTube channel and boom, free lights. Haha. I should. I need to get more corporate sponsors. I need to, actually, after today's live show, people, like all the corporate sponsors are going to be like, yeah, I don't think that guy needs to be our voice into the market. Reef, oh, hilarious. Reef Spy, very clever. T5 stocks are dropping. Sell, sell, sell. Oh, I love it. Yes, engineering aquariums. Yeah, you came in a little bit late, but somebody said, what, Chewbacca's selling coral now? Very good. Very good. Greg Bishop, corals. Yeah, T5 are acceptable, and I like ATI, but I love VHO metal halide. Basically, yes. That's exactly it. Like, if you want the most ridiculous looking corals, I challenge any lighting fixture out there. Beat metal halide and VHO.
65.
Pelt work, if you want Gen 4 Radions, what settings would you use? Man, I have never once played with that fixture. Never once. So that would be tough. Like, I would have to like dial in something, but to be perfectly honest, for most of the day, I would probably select something more towards the daylight end of things. A lot of our corals, I'm noticing, they color up a lot better under that type of lighting. And so for us, we're more production focused. The rest of it, I think, is going to be more aesthetic focused. So maybe what you could do in your tank is during the day when you're not at home, maybe you're at the office or something like that, give the corals what they prefer, and then when you come home or in the early morning when you just wanted to look at it before you leave for work, dial it into the aesthetic that you want. But during that middle of the day where nobody's really looking at it except you and you know, the corals and maybe the cat, give the corals what they were looking for. This hair's out of control right now. Oh my god. Ugh. A modest reef. Welcome. Glad you could make it. Olga, are you getting drunk today? Hopefully not. I'm not going to go too heavy on these. Miguel Mai, hey Than, do you guys still carry frozen blueberry chalices? I don't think so. I think that we might have lost those a while back, unfortunately. That's kind of our problem. Sometimes we sell out, and sometimes like a certain colony will just go and no more. It's got some different micromusas going. Lotharibo, I can't wait to get off work to get wasted with that. Luckily, I am, in the rare times that I actually do get drunk, I'm a good drunk. It's like, you know how there's always that person that's going to be like the crying drunk, or like the angry, wanna fight drunk? Nah, I'm not that guy. I'm super cool. So, Reef Eco, how do we know something is aquaculture versus wild? Do we just ask when we order? You could, but really what it comes down to is, like, there's like a... It's like asking if somebody is a sociopath. Follow me on this one. There's a range. There's like a spectrum, right? So somebody might have sociopathic tendencies, and some people might not. When it comes to aquaculture, it's not really like a defined term. Like there's nothing that says if blank, then it is aquaculture. It's not quite like that. So really, when it comes to aquaculture, what I focus on is whether you are getting the benefits of aquaculture. What that means is, are those corals grown in captivity and therefore more robust? They are far from the shipping stress that got them to this country. Have they been growing? That's like a big deal. Like if a coral is growing, man, that makes a big difference on how hardy that coral is gonna be. So, you know, keep that in mind. Yeah, those sorts of benefits are going to be a lot more indicative of, you know, what really makes for aquaculture. My mom and dad just walked in. They're like, the hell?
Who is this?
You can crack the door open. It's getting a little toasty in here suddenly. Thank you. Okay. Peltworks. Ah, some settings. Gotcha.
Number 72.
72. Okay. Get Ohio AEP to be the corporate sponsor. Possibly. Hey, I'm all about corporate sponsorship. Actually, my next like bigger video is going to be. I'm just warning you guys in advance. Be like, fans sold out. Yes, I did. I'm gonna do a salt video, and I do have a corporate sponsor for that salt video. So look out for that. Fair warning. And yes, if some lighting company wants to work with me, I will work with them. Try to, anyways. If I like the, I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so I've never done a sponsored video by a manufacturer at all. Okay, and it's not because I haven't been asked. There's been a lot of different conversations. Oftentimes, it just doesn't work out. But I've probably turned down dozens for everyone that I've said yes to. And it always does come down to, you know, have I used this? Do I really like it? All right, Tech Gear Talk. I will talk to you later. Thank you for joining us. Okay, type 40. Do I have to remineralize RO water before using it to compensate for the water evaporation in my aquarium? No, that's typically not done. Question. Hammy. If I black out my tank for 3 days because of dinos, should I turn off my dosing pump for calcium alkalinity? I worry about just blacking out your aquarium to begin with for dinoflagellates. Like, dinos... Is this a new aquarium, or has this aquarium been up for like 3 years, and all of a sudden now it's going to hell because of dinos? Because if it's like a startup aquarium, everybody gets dinos. Like, that's not a thing. I mean, you have your dino phase for 1 week, and then it's gone. So if it's within that like early period, don't black out your aquarium. I'm just saying. The Modest Reef. My LFS says that Red Sea Pro salt will kill my corals due to high alk.
75.
I have not used Red Sea Coral Pro. I don't think it's gonna do that. Simply put, no. And we have a super chat. Thank you very much, Eco Reef. Happy Halloween to you too. So thank you very much for the $2 Dubsy Dabs or shill. Yeah, I haven't even shilled it yet. I haven't. It's like, at least give me the opportunity to sell out first before calling me a sellout. Rico's Reef. What happened to Miss Saltwater Tank? She is no longer here, unfortunately. I miss her too, guys. I miss her too. You might ask some of the British crowd to see if they know more. Like I personally don't know a whole lot. If Andy, there's no shame in selling it as long as you still give an honest opinion. Yeah, and here's the thing about like people that don't do YouTube don't quite understand it. Like, YouTube is ridiculously difficult. Like, anything that could happen to, like, offset the ridiculous amount of time and effort it takes to go into YouTube, you'll want to do. Like, but at the same time, I know what you mean about, like, just ridiculous shilling. Like, I've been lately a lot into, like, men's fashion. Can you tell? Like, look how amazing I look now. After, like, getting into all this men's fashion. I look like Jason Momoa now. Like, this is great, right? It has a great positive effect on my on my lifestyle and my masculinity. Yes. But some of these guys in like the men's fashion YouTube world are trying to sell you all kinds of stuff during their video. Like they're gonna like, you know, try to sell you some awful cheap watch. They're gonna be like trying to sell some awful skin cream. And it's every single video. They spend like 40% of their video trying to like sell stuff to you. And that's not good. So I don't plan on taking this channel into that direction. No matter how much money's on the table. So anyway. Okay. So welcome to some of the new guys coming in. Yeah, so Heather, I use Red Sea on a mixed tank, no issues. A lot of times, people run into salt issues when they are trying to change salts. It's not just like that particular salt is terrible. There might be a terrible salt out there, but generally speaking, tons of people aren't going to be using it. It's like some little one-off. I mean, there's like only a few brands that people actually even use, really. And you know what their names are, right? So when people say, oh, I switched to Reef crystals and it's garbage, all my stuff died. Well, honestly, it's probably not Reef crystals. You're probably switching from Red Sea Coral Pro, which is made very differently from Reef crystals. And just that transition process is being done too hastily, and that's what's causing all your issues. Okay, so yeah, so Andrew Deutsch, it isn't selling out to get a sponsor you truly believe in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Selling out is collecting money and promoting something you think is junk. Yeah. Greg Bishop, morning after Eddie Vedder in Koei t-shirts sell salt and AEP power. Yeah, selling out would be Tidal Gardens adult diapers. Adult diapers might work. You never know. You never know. You never know. So you know what? I need to grab another drink soon. But we'll wait. We'll wait. We'll be patient with it. The Modest Reef. This is a bad idea. I'm buying everything. Well, thank you. I appreciate the support. So again, thank you guys for all your super chats. Thank you all for the Patreon donations. Thank you guys for purchasing corals, most of all. I mean, this is kind of what obviously fuels this whole business, this whole production. So obviously, I am most appreciative. Okay, moving on to number 81. Looks like we finished up that section of chalices and we're moving on to some Favia and Favites. So I'm curious to see just how many folks are on currently. Oh, pretty good peak concurrent. I like it. I like it. Yeah, we've been on for an hour. It doesn't feel like an hour at all. You know, I'll tell you what. I hate to say it, but alcohol really helps me. I hate that that's oh my god, I should not touch my eyes. Note to self, don't touch your eyes. Oh my goodness. 82. Type 40, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Thank you so much. You've been like, I think that ever since you even came on to chat, you've been like donating. So thanks. I really appreciate it. That's great. Hopefully, you guys are getting some good information, some good entertainment value. Get to see some pretty corals. So, thank you. Any acros today? Jordy Mex. Yes, there will be. Yes, there will be. Not sure how many. To be perfectly honest, our acros are looking very good right now. I can't always say that. Like the greenhouse, it's very unforgiving, and acropora tend to take it very poorly when things aren't perfect for them. So oftentimes acros are just like not looking happy enough to even put on this live show. Hopefully we will fix that in the future. It's always a work in progress here, but yeah, I think that the acros are looking very good. So if you are into acros, hopefully we'll have a bunch that you can select from. Okay, so tree guy. I always get worried to try Favia since my tank is relatively small, 20 gallons. Should I worry? The worry with Favia. Not so much. Like, they might get aggressive with sweeper tentacles. That would be my biggest worry, but again, it's not a huge worry, especially since their growth rate tends to be fairly slow. Yeah, but again, not terrible. Hey Ben, I'm gonna take a timeout. I need to use a bathroom break and grab another drink. So, please bear with us. And in the meantime, I would like to say a warm thank you to the Patreon crowd. Thank you Phil, Mark, Robert, Steve, Ryan, Dave, Nate, Nancy, Jeff, and many of these folks are in chat, so thank you guys. Samuel, Matthew, Mark, Travis, and Kevin. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. I am back. Welcome back, guys. All right.
86.
So, I've switched up to Yingling Oktoberfest. It's alright. Uh-oh. That was bad. Thing overflowed there. So, Dave Davis, thank you so much. $12 super chat donation. Thank you so much, Dave. You're a Are you the same Dave Davis that's on Patreon? So then double thank you.
87.
87. I'm making a mess here. I apologize, you guys. It's gone full on drunk show now. Almost time for Tidal to do a dub move. So, Rico's Reef. What tank size does everyone have? Yeah, in chat, let them know. Here, I'll even contribute. 5,000. Number 88. All right. Sierra Nevada. That's here's the thing. I don't drink a ton, so unfortunately, I don't remember what Sierra Nevada anything tastes like. I remember it being okay though. Like it was a pretty decent beer, right? Yeah, it's like a lot of IPAs and stuff like that. Did the screen die? I can't see. Ah. If the screen went black, no. Screen did not die. Yeah, I haven't actually had to say that lately, but it's when we move the slider, we put the cap on just so everybody just doesn't all get seasick just looking at the lens or looking at the picture move. Screen is fine. Health work. Do you still carry red and blue anemone? What kind of anemone? Because not a bubble tip, but we do have some. We have some flower anemones that are red and blue. Yes.
Number 91.
So Heather says she has a 90 and a 20, and the 20 is the biggest headache. I tend to think that the larger the aquarium, the easier it is to care for. And a lot of that comes down to being able to fill it up with stuff. Like, stuff does work. It does work for you, I should say. So, in Rico's reef tank, what you'll notice is he has a 300-gallon tank, huge sump. It does very little in the way of actual maintenance, but he has like an army of fish. He has an army of inverts, and his tank is spectacular. And you simply just can't do that sort of that stocking in a small aquarium. So just for, I mean, I realize that not everybody can have a big, huge aquarium in the space that they have, but there are some definite advantages to being able to do so. In the future, like our smallest individual tank that we have here, even though it's connected to all the other ones, the smallest tank we have here is 30 gallons. And in those 30-gallon tanks is where all of our problems originate. If we have a pest, it starts in those 30s. If like a flatworm outbreak happens, it starts in the 30s. Aptasia starts popping up, you guessed it, it's going to be in those 30s. Because in the bigger tanks, we have fish and other inverts that can kind of handle these pests on an ongoing process. But it's just like little small guys that are difficult. Ah, yes. So pelt work. You used to have the red tentacle blue body bubble tip. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have any more of those. I think all of ours are more red and or orange and green. I would say more orange and green. And yes, the Rico's Reef that's in chat is not Cholo Rico. He's not here right now. Speaking of Rico close by, so actually both Ricos are in Ohio, so I can't even say Ohio Rico, but close to Tidal Gardens Rico. I should have him on for another live show. You guys seem to love chatting with him. And he's got good takes. He's got a lot of good experiences, and more importantly, experiences that are very different than my own that you guys can learn from.
Number 96.
96. Okay, so when you've been in this hobby a really long time, you get attracted to some semi-weird things. Like, I love this particular Astreopora. It does not have great colorful brightness or anything like that, but it was such a strange oddity that stuff like this gets me like really excited about the hobby again. It's weird.
Number 97.
So I'm not following a lot of college football because my college football team Michigan is kind of trash. They're turns out that I don't think they have a quarterback that's capable of throwing the football, which makes things more challenging. But there's a big game going on today between Ohio State and Penn State, and I don't know if they've played already or what the deal is there. So if somebody could give me a quick synopsis of what's going on there, I'd be interested. Are they playing now? I realize not everybody's into sports ball. I apologize, but I am kind of curious. I'm going to look it up real quick. ESPN. Does anybody know? Oh, that's a problem also. Oh, it starts at 3:30. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. Michael Walker. Leptocerus quirks? Not so much. Like, Leptocerus, to me, are one of the easiest corals to keep, and they're one of the fastest growing. Now, what tends to happen with Leptocerus is they don't like a lot of chemical changes. So they don't like being dipped. They don't like swings in chemistry or anything like that. All that stuff really bothers them. And they don't like a huge amount of light. I think a problem that some people might have with Leptocerus is that they just overpower them with lighting. They don't require very much at all, and you can do more harm than good with too much lighting. But other than that, fairly easy SPS, very fast growing. David, dude, not a pirate this year? Well, somebody said it looked like Jack Sparrow. Exclusive Reef. Heyo.
102.
102. One sec. Okay. Do you prefer corals with contrasting colors? In terms of like design and aesthetics, I do like a lot of that. I think that when starting out, I think most people gravitate to green, and it turns out green is one of the easiest colors to get in a reef. So then people start moving away from green, and I tend to kind of go towards like a lot of like the reds and oranges, and then balance those out a little bit with the yellows and the greens and whatnot. And blue's obviously another difficult color to come across. Type 40, good night, Dan. In the stream, sadly, have to leave. Thank you so much again, Type 40, for joining us, and again for the super chat. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're going to a Halloween party. Reefing with O. What's up, everyone? Hey, thanks for joining. Would Leptocerus do well with a shaded T5 area? Yes, definitely. If they don't do well, look at the water chemistry first. It won't be your lighting. Nicole Robinson, go Penn State. Well, Penn State already beat us, so why not go Penn State? Which is like awful because, you know, being in Ohio, going to Michigan, not looked upon favorably here. Nikos, are you supposed to be Poseidon? No, I'm supposed to be Aquaman. But I am wearing the old school Aquaman, not the DCEU Aquaman jersey costume. So welcome all the new folks that have just dropped in. Thank you all for joining. Hope you guys are enjoying things. $105. And I do have to apologize. I have not been up on my Friday chat sessions. Bunch of projects going on that kind of have me a little bit more preoccupied than normal. However, we're getting through them. All good things. It's like complaining about first world problems. It's like, yeah, there's stressors, but it's like getting stressed packing for a vacation sort of thing. It's like you're not supposed to complain about packing for a vacation, right? So I'm not going to complain now. But I do apologize for not making the Friday chats. We'll make it up today with a drunken costumed live show. MN Ocean, I thought you were the lion from the Wizard of Oz. So I've gotten Poseidon. I've gotten, again, my favorite is like Chewbacca selling coral. Somebody said you could be Radagast from Lord of the Rings. What else was out there? That was pretty good. The Little Mermaid's dad. And Khal Drogo, of course. Khal Drogo's the easy one. Hey Aquafan, we love the show. Out of curiosity, does TG ever carry white zombie zoas? I don't think we have any of those. I'm kind of unfamiliar with it. See, here's the problem with zoas. There's so many different kinds. I mean, I think that when it comes to our selection, we try to find... We have hundreds, probably, of different types of zoas. But finding exact ones that people are looking for can be tough. Especially if it's like a particular... hard to find niche one, like paradise zoas, for example, are very difficult. We had those years ago, but no longer. Oktoberfests we haven't had in a long time. We really want to get good, what do you call those things? Fruit Loops. Those are very difficult to get. Things like that. But yeah, I mean, zoas do well for us for the most part, but again, it's like there's so many varieties out there. I wouldn't worry about the flashlight, Ben. Okay, moving on. So for the folks that don't know, Ben has a flashlight that kind of gives an LED color cast to the corals. So a lot of our lighting is a little bit more daylighty than than an all blue tank. Because here's the thing, if you ever go to a frag swap, I can pretty much tell you what all the tanks are going to look like. It's going to be 100% blue. And most people wouldn't keep their tanks at that color temperature for the simple fact that that's not going to be the healthiest thing for the corals long term. But it is the best way to kind of show off your corals just for the purpose of a sale. At least with this flashlight, you kind of get to see like a daylight appearance and a more actinic appearance, just so you can see where the fluorescence is going to come from if you do decide to go with like a look that's much more blue. 112. Okay, so Chaos General 1. Do you guys propagate most of your corals or buy from a wholesaler? We propagate a lot. We still do go to the wholesaler for stuff that we don't typically propagate, stuff like scolies, acanthophilia, tracheophilia, things like that. Like there's just certain things that just you either cannot propagate or makes no real viable commercial sense to propagate. But I would say that the vast majority of the things here are propagated. And we prefer it that way. We really like to focus on the propagated stuff more so than the collected stuff. Michael Walker, interstellar mushrooms available through this winter? Hopefully. We don't have that many. So if you really want one, sooner rather than later would be good. We even have one on the show. So you can take a look at that. But the last time we had them, they either got sold or they kind of vanished along the way, kind of strangely. But I wouldn't always say, oh, we always have them. That simply has not been the case. Nicole Robinson, what is your opinion on Kessels? I like them. There's a lot to like about Kessels. The one thing I always kind of worry about is because they have such a small footprint that they tend to be spotlighty, but spotlighty in a different way than most people expect. Because they do a good job of blending light, but because it comes from such a point light source, you run into shading areas. So oftentimes you kind of get that shade effect with like SPS, which can be kind of bad. And so the way to counteract that is you have a lot more fixtures. And, crack. That can kind of be daunting for people's budgets. It's not exactly an inexpensive fixture. But, no, I think it's very good. If you have one, you should be happy. Rico's Reef. What are you going up to today? 230 something, I think. Brian's Aquarium. Aquaman? Yes. Yes, Aquaman.
117.
Donovan Dell. Ever had a terrible employee just 5-figure discount? I have had bad employees, but never one that stole. So, like, given the choice of why an employee would be bad, stealing would be like low on the list of problems. Like doing something really badly and causing an aquarium system to flood is worse. But no, it's generally speaking, we've had very, very, very good employees here. Like Ben's fantastic. You know, like Sean and Michael, you know, the guys from the gym, those guys are great. You know, we've had good people for the most part. I can't complain. Like, you know, so sometimes even when you have like good employees and good partners, it doesn't work out. But it doesn't mean that they were bad. You know, like I've had great previous business partners in other businesses and stuff. I've never had a bad business partner. And yet those things kind of dissolve. So, I mean, compared to people's like bad employee horror stories, I haven't had any bad employees as far as that stuff goes. Like I've heard some crazy stuff, especially from the folks that had worked in like the restaurant industry, where it's like, wow, that person's really bad. They fire them. And it's like, that nobody could be as bad as that person. And the very next one is worse. And yeah, I don't know. Luckily, I have not had that issue. Yeah, this guy looks like he's been feeding. This little Pachyceras. So when we feed some like the smaller particles, they can send out these little trailers, and eventually those will make it back into the body and eat. It's a very cool coral. You don't tend to see a lot of cool Pachyceras. Little oddity. Somebody was asking about canary yellow corals. This would be a good candidate for that. This one here is a little bit more lime green. It's because of the lighting that it's under. It's under T5, but it's not under a ton of T5. If you had a lot more intensity, it'll get a lot more canary yellow. So this was that Anacropora that I had mentioned earlier. So this guy very similar to an acropora, different polyps, and insanely bright if you let it. So yeah, one of like the better like highlight pieces. And acropora tends to be kind of uncommon even in SPS aquariums. Fast growing, I think even easier than acropora, but yeah, this guy's coloration is really pretty spectacular. Practically a highlighter color. Like I said, a lot of our SPS are doing pretty well this fall. I can't complain about that. I'm wondering, did chat die? I haven't seen a chat message come up in a little while. Is chat still working? I always wonder if, like, it just got disconnected somehow. I get paranoid. So if chat still works, just toss something in there, say hello. Say where you're from. Give a shout out. Okay, good. I see some comments flowing in. Thank you so much. John Rose is wondering, has any other blue Pavona come up since number 41? Honestly, not sure. Ben's taking a look for you. Merrick. Yeah, there's going to be more coming. Don't worry about it, John. What are you drinking? I'm drinking currently some Yingling Oktoberfest. And I had some Goose Island earlier. So Yingling was actually, like, it's made in Pittsburgh, right? Which is, like, just across the border here. And for the longest time, it's not been available in Ohio. So they made a big deal of it once it actually came here. It's like an inexpensive beer company. It's like Budweiser in terms of pricing. But it is a lot better. Is it as good as like a really nice microbrew? Probably not. But it's not priced as a microbrew. It's priced like Budweiser. Dave, it's like we're just hanging on your every word. It's like you're hanging on the word of a guy dressed as Aquaman that might be slightly drunk. Just thought I'd let you know. It's like that is an adventurous lifestyle. No, I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Ricky Darth Blocks. What would you recommend for a Darth Maul Zoa that isn't opening completely? So if you have a bunch of other Zoas that are opening just fine, and you have one little group of Zoas that are not opening, immediately my mind goes to the possibility that something is a parasite and is eating that colony. You might want to just take that colony out if possible and give it a thorough cleaning and an observational look. So, you know, take a makeup brush, kind of go around each polyp, close them up and just go around each polyp and just see if something comes off in the inspection container. Like maybe even put in a little bit of Coral RX, maybe put in a little bit of iodine, something like that to kind of like agitate potential pests and see if there's anything that really jumps off at you. Because generally speaking, Zoas don't just close just cause. That's not a thing. Tree Guy, are you a fan of Stone's IPA? They're okay. Like, I think that when it comes to IPAs, I think that they're really overdone. There's some that I really like. I like Dogfish Head 90. I like Dogfish Head 120 the one time I had it because it's not legal in Ohio to sell it. And there's a few other IPAs I liked. I don't like any of the Cleveland IPAs that I've had. Like, no Great Lakes or anything. But some of the Stone IPAs are good. And I think that, like, some of the Stone ones are considered, like, the best, though. Like, Ruination and stuff like that are very, very, very high-end. Now, Stouts, I'm a big fan of. I really like Stouts. Like, probably my favorite Stouts There's an Akron brewery here that makes something called Siberian Night that's really good. I like Old Rasputin, especially Old Rasputin Nitro. If you've ever had a, if you're into nitro beers, and oops, I'm messing up. 131. Okay, good. If you're into nitro beers, things like that, and you're into stouts, like I said, Old Rasputin does have a nitro version that's really cool. Yeah, there's no Dogfish 120 in Ohio. I had it with my my friends up in Michigan. Marcus Aurelius 187 made it. Glad you could make it. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Trilla. There's places where you can get Yingling for under $12 a case. Yeah, I mean it's Yingling's a cheap beer. I mean, I like there's a place for cheap beer, and I think that Yingling's quality for its price, it's pretty good. Like I remember, because I've been in like craft brew land for decades. Like I literally, in the few times that I drink beer, have been drinking some like pretty good craft brews this whole time. And then one time I was at a cookout, and you know all there was to drink was Coors Light. And I'm like, sure, let's try Coors Light. And I was like stunned at the lack of flavor in Coors Light. I was like, oh, that's why all these microbrew places talk about flavor. Because I just kind of assumed that that's what beer tasted like. And it turns out that there's beer that has no flavor. It's like, oh. So compared to that, Yingling's pretty good for the same price. Dude, you look like Rasputin. I guess I do. That's the other things that somebody said I looked like. They said I looked like Charles Manson. Yes. I thought about it, but I didn't think anyone would know who Rasputin was. Yeah. Oh, good shit. I wonder if I have the constitution for this hobby. The sound of water dripping in the background is giving me anxiety attacks. Yeah, if that's doing it, it might not be for you, because of the stress-inducing things that this hobby is capable of, the trickling water is very low on the list. Very, very, very low. Like, worst-case scenarios are like, all of my stuff died, and I don't even know how much that money that was, because it could be a lot. The other thing is, oh, my tank overflowed while I was on vacation. All of my stuff is dead, and I need new hardwood floors. Like, this hobby is capable of that. Worse yet, electrical fire, my house burned down while I was on vacation. Like horrible stuff is potentially possible. But so yes, if you're having some anxiety issues over the sound of your aquarium, yeah, it might not. I cannot recommend it. I would love for you to be in this hobby and a patron of Tidal Gardens, but it ain't working out. Possible to keep Parietes and Digitata thriving. What number is this? 137? Okay. Possible to keep Parietes and Digitata thriving in nano coral gardens just with weekly water changes? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, weekly of about 20%. I think that's a pretty good number. My mom can't even look at me. She's like turned the corner, just starts laughing. Laughing. She said she was the one that said, like, because I sent a picture with like without the hair, without the beard and everything, and she said I looked like a pineapple because of this shirt. No, I'm not gonna redo my makeup. It's fine. It's fine. Yes, I should have given some background. My 150 setup had a slow leak that worked its way to my basement ceiling and caused a few grand in damage. Yes. It could be worse. Yes. No fun, but it could always be worse. $140. So Lyra Sorrowin. Dan, with all the tanks in the greenhouse, do you keep any tanks in your house? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I have no home aquariums. Fortunately or unfortunately. So, I actually don't live in a very large house. It's like, it's medium to small size, I would say. So, it's, I mean, just like, there's not a ton of space to put a tank in. And then, speaking like Dwight, he was just saying like he doesn't like the sound, like the sound of trickling water. I don't either, actually. I like it to be quiet when I'm at home, and yeah, I tend to not even mess with it. Penn State just ran back the opening kickoff. Cool. To hell with the Buckeyes. I should watch it because like I have so many friends here that are from Ohio State. So many like close friends. People I like, you know, like that I work with professionally. That I mean, Ohio State's like a huge university, and obviously you know being in Ohio. But yeah, I'm okay if Ohio State happens to lose or something. Green Singularity here, by the way. It's closed. It'll be fine. You know how these things go. Sometimes leathers close up. Moving on. Stan being a diva about his makeup. By the way, for the ladies that are watching this stream, I have no idea how you do this. Like, just putting on this, like, this amount of makeup, it feels awful. Like, I can't even begin to imagine having to do this, like, every day. I was at, like, a CVS or something, like, looking at the makeup section, just thinking, how do I just make my eyes turn black? What do I even buy? There's, like, 5 aisles of all this stuff. Like, what am I even looking at? Baltrick92, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Dave Davis, if you had a home aquarium, would you take care of it or leave it to your staff? I'm going to be realistic. There would be serious neglect issues if I had a home aquarium. Like, I've said this before, but my cats, and cats are supposed to be like the most independent animals ever, look at me like I'm like the worst cat parent ever. Like, they're like, oh, you need to play with us now, you need to feed us now, constantly. And it's like, you are just like the worst cat parent. So yeah, having a home aquarium on top of that, I don't think it would work for me. I would probably have to outsource it. That's terrible because it's like, yeah, you know what, you should be able to keep a home aquarium well, but it's just, you know, the time and attention that it would take and all that. It'd be tough. I'm curious to see how this guy looks. Yeah, with the fluorescence. It's interesting. It's an interesting mushroom. I was kind of hoping that it'd go completely nuts once you hit it with the flashlight. Monye, you know you're gonna be a major meme after today. It's like Ben looks forward to being able to make a meme of me every single time we do a live show. I don't know if you noticed this, but the thumbnail for the live show is always pretty creative nowadays. Okay. So, thanks for the tips, Dan. Have you ever kept any species-specific tanks? The only species-specific tanks that we have here at the greenhouse are because of like something carnivorous being in there. So, Pseudocoronactus, for example, they kind of get their own little corner, their own different tank. We've got a tank with a tube anemone. Those guys are like hyper aggressive. They spread out like 12 inches, so you kind of have to give them some of their own space. Okay, so Ben is moving the rig here. Okay, we are at 150. We're on the final back home stretch, guys. So hopefully everyone's having a good weekend. I mean, thanks again for joining. It's been fun on my end. So Eddie Ramos is wondering, what would cause my hammer coral to lose the purple in it? Usually when it comes to Euphilia and them losing color, there's two ways that happens. One is too much light, where you're just blowing it out and then it's expelling its zooxanthellae. The second way is if you're running some sort of ultra-low nutrient system, some sort of like bacterial thing, whether it be Red Sea, Zeovit, Aquaforest, something along those lines, that can also cause the coral to kind of bleach out. So I would look at those two things first. One is it's not getting enough nutrition. The other one is it's getting too much light. Okay, so how would I go about purchasing from this live show for the first time here? All right, let me quickly go to the Tidal Gardens website. I will toss the link in, okay? So you have to go to Tidal Gardens, and there's a live show link. It'll be in the top left navigation, but I will link it right there. There you go. You'll see a link to this video. It's embedded. And then down below, you'll see the numbered list of all the corals that are still available. And if you'd like, you can just treat that as a regular item, toss it into your shopping cart, and check out. Now be sure to click on like how this live sale works. I will go ahead and link the rules as to like how this kind of all works right there below it. And what else can I do? I'll briefly here just flash this up here. Go to tidalgardens.com. You have to check out to actually get the coral. Shipping is $39.99 flat, free over $250. And if you're placing multiple orders, select local pickup / live sale. Okay. That was a quick overview. But again, if you wanted to read that, click on that link. So Marcus Aurelius 187. It's my birthday today, so happy birthday. Everybody in chat, please send him some well wishes for his birthday. 155. Okay. So unfortunately, no. Tidal Gardens only ships to the US. I was talking to a lady over in the UK who does import coral, and she informed me that currently there are no CITES permits for exporting stony corals out of the US. So I don't know if anybody else can speak on that, but it appears that even if we had the appropriate export licenses, that it would not be possible for us to send corals that are stony corals. And I think that you could get permits for soft corals, anemones, zoanthids, and that sort of thing on a typical export license, but I think all stony corals right now, there's no infrastructure for that to come out of the United States. Turnover Ohio State. So part of me is thinking it's kind of nice that Penn State is good again. They had a rough stretch there for like quite a little while. And then they had that really, really terrible scandal and everything. So we've got some cool merlettis here. These merlettis, usually when people are wondering the difference between merlettis and wellsies, they look at the size of the polyps. And this merletti is every bit as large as a wellsie. So it's only until you like look at its like skeleton and stuff like that that you can kind of see that it is a merletti at all. So, Merrick, thank you. I'm a newbie at this hobby, about 5 months experience. It's been a struggle to say the least. There's always going to be a learning curve with something like this. At least find solace in that you're doing it in an era where there's a ton of information available on this topic. So you will make far fewer mistakes than somebody like me. Like I've made every mistake imaginable over the course of 30-something years. So you at least have the benefit of avoiding most of it. But again, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Art. Are hang-on back really bad for saltwater for filters? I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're talking about a hang-on back canister filter or like a power filter that's typically used in freshwater. And I'll tell you why that's bad for saltwater. Well, not necessarily just saltwater, but it's bad specifically for corals. The reason why it's so bad for corals is that those filters are designed to harvest aerobic bacteria. So that aerobic bacteria, it nitrifies, it turns ammonia into nitrite and then into nitrate very efficiently. And the idea behind that is that you are basically turning ammonia, which is a toxic compound, into nitrate, which is not nearly as toxic. And for fish aquariums, that's great. And you want to have plenty of that, like wet dry filters, that sort of thing. Great for fish only. But when it comes to corals, corals are very, very, very sensitive to nitrate. And even fish, they tolerate nitrate. They don't love nitrate, but they can tolerate it. Corals don't tolerate it nearly as well. And so what you end up with is a filter that is very, very, very good at producing nitrate. And that's why it's not very well suited for saltwater aquariums where coral is going to be the focus. You're really better off going with protein skimming, better off going with live rock, live sand, things of that sort, because those they either A, do not generate nitrate, or they have some sort of anaerobic mechanism in place to turn that nitrate into nitrogen gas, which will bubble out over time. So, long story short, canister filters and power filters, that sort of thing, not amazing. Now, if you were to have a power filter, let's say you had, I guess, what is like an aqua clear or something like that, something that moves a lot of water, all you need to do to still use that effectively is just to take out the big sponge block out of there. Just take it out and use it for water movement. And that is a perfectly good use for a filter like that. Obviously, it's not going to give you any kind of real bacterial biological filtration, but at least you aren't wasting the device. Using it at just for flow, it's fine. This guy's reaction is just hilarious. I don't. Yeah. So this guy just said, "Jesus, look at you."
167.
All right. Touchdown Penn State. So what is that? Is that 14-0? 14-0. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for looking out. Thanks for being bros.
168.
Now, the other thing you could do is you could use that for mechanical filtration. You know, put in some filter media in there, but basically clean that out like every single day. That doesn't sound fun to me, but that would be one way to keep the water clear, but at the same time not really worrying about like the biological processes that are going to make nitrate. Okay, Martin's Reef. Everything is testing fine but have high nitrate. What would be the best solution? Tank is SPS dominated. If you have high nitrate, water changes is always a good idea to handle the high nitrate. The second idea is to control your feeding. Now, I happen to think that feeding, or even heavy feeding, is good. But the problem is there's an art to heavy feeding to make sure it all ends up in the animal and not so much just free floating to then spur on all sorts of algae and other kinds of like deleterious processes like that. So if you want to feed heavier, try foods that are cleaner, not so like cloudy and milky, and just like even going with like pellet food and just feeding in such a way that you make sure that every single one of those pellets makes it into a fish, for example. That sort of thing. A combination of the water changes plus more conscientious feeding will, over time, help with your nitrate issue. 171. I don't. In fact, the only computer charger here would be upstairs in my bedroom. So no. Any clams? Unfortunately, we are not good at clams. So unfortunately, we don't have any. Like, we used to try to keep clams, and we have a good source for clams even, but we simply cannot keep them alive. The way that we do maintenance here, the way that we dip corals, like the solutions that eventually make it into the water, it's the clams end up crashing, unfortunately. We're just bad at it. Hopefully in the future we can find out something that works better for them. We can keep them on hand, but not right now, unfortunately. Unfortunate, 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 unfortunate. Okay, when upgrading, so this is from Matthew Aruda. When upgrading, do you have to let the new tank cycle with the old live rock, or is it safe to add things slowly? The best way to answer that would be to just test the water, obviously. So make sure that there is no ammonia or nitrite, sorry, NO2 going on. Because those are they will kill stuff. Now, I tend to be like ultra conservative when it comes to that. I'm ultra conservative about nothing else in life, but when it comes to startup aquariums and cycling, there is a clear benefit to holding off a bit and waiting like a couple months at least to let the tank just kind of settle into its own processes like that. So, again, best case, you test. Second best case, you just wait. Than. So this is from Sean Crewell. Any thoughts on marine pure spheres or blocks? I've never used it personally. However, Will, one of my friends here, does use that in his aquaforest-based SPS system. And in that system, it is supposed to, I think, on paper, provide for biological filtration that is anaerobic and aerobic. So it's essentially trying to simulate live rock, but more efficiently. In his tank, it seems to be doing fine. He tests religiously, and he has almost zero nitrate going on. So yeah, it might be good for you. I personally, again, haven't tried it myself. My systems are such a jumble. It'd be hard to like say, oh, we've had good success with it. It's like, no, we might have had good success, but I don't know if it's because of any particular thing. Things here aren't exactly great for like, you know, scientific results in that way. It's like the best we can hope for is bad, spurious correlations and anecdotes. Michael Walker, hard to find ornate feather dusters. Any ideas? Not sure. I don't think I've even seen them. We have just like hitchhiker types that come in and we just let them grow and stuff, and sometimes our copper bands eat them, but no, nothing too fancy, I'm afraid. Nothing too fancy. Ricky Darth Blocks, what's the oldest coral colony that you still own? Tough to say. We've had corals for years. It might be like 5 or 6 years old, maybe. 181. So we are making it right down this past stretch here. Got a little bit of everything, it seems. A little bit of Leptoceras, a little bit of Zoas. I didn't even get a chance to look too carefully as to what everything was kind of being offered, but hopefully this is a good selection for you guys. Stuff has been looking pretty nice here lately, so happy to see that. And again, thanks for the score updates. I am kind of curious. This is a newer Leptoceras that we've had. It's called a Big Bang. It's the difference between this and some of the others is that it has that purple coloration on the ridges. $183. Let's see. Seabone Deluxe. Have you seen the BRS videos on lighting and par? They recommend 250 to 350 par for SPS. What do you run for your par on acros? Strangely similar. I think that we would normally shoot for about 300. We tend to go lower than most people would recommend. Now, I've seen people have insanely bright lighting, like 250 to 350. No, we're talking like 1,000 for SPS, and so a fixture like that would be like an 8-bulb ATI with LED supplementation. I mean, it's like a very big fixture. No, we typically go quite a bit less than that, but so for the folks at home that kind of have a hard time imagining what 300 par would look like, that would be roughly a six bulb T5 fixture, maybe about 8 to 10 inches down from the water surface is what you're looking at. And that is perfectly good to keep the vast majority of SPS out there. Ryan's Reef asking about Oregon Tort, and I'm sorry that, cause I think I did see your question before and I didn't pick up on it, but we used to have it. We might still have it, but for some odd reason, I don't know if we still do. Oregon Tort. Do we have any of that left? I don't think so. For some reason, I think that either it died or we sold the last one and then our backup one died or something like that. Yeah, that's one that we always plan to keep, though. Like, so we're always going to be on the lookout for that one. It just so happens that we don't have one now. Eddie Ramos. Fermented snails. Good or bad? Bad. Usually I would give a more nuanced answer than that, but in this case, no. It's going to go with bad. I don't like them. 187. Miguel Maya, do you know of any vermitid snail predators? Nothing that you would want in your aquarium, no. So you're really basically looking at clipping them yourself or adding a parrotfish, which will eat everything else too. Levian Marquez. So no idea where I can buy the clams. That's a good question, because like we would get them directly from a wholesaler, which obviously doesn't help you. Consider Live Aquaria, maybe. See, the reason why I would recommend Live Aquaria is they have a very good guarantee, and so sometimes, I mean, I think that clams aren't known to ship particularly poorly, but having a 14-day guarantee pretty much makes it your fault if it dies. So that's really all you can ask for, right? If the thing dies 2 weeks after it arrived at your place, it's kind of on you at that point. So that's probably one place I looked, and I don't know what their pricing looks like, but I don't think that they I don't remember them being like, you know, horrible as far as like pricing for clams or anything like that. Like the only reason like we don't carry them again is we can't keep them here long term. It just doesn't work out. We need to like set up truly a completely separate system just for them. This is 190? Okay. Thank you. 190. Are all the leptos safe to place next to each other? Seemingly so. Now, that's not to say that they don't fight. They very well could be fighting. It's just that is the fighting that's happening really a big deal? Maybe, maybe not. I would consider it very similar to the sort of fighting that would happen with two different types of Montipora. Sure, they're fighting. Maybe one day down the road, you're going to get a situation where one just kills off the other or just overgrows it, whatever. Look at it like that. Clams in general, so Heather was saying that they have clams, but it's very seasonal. Clams in general are seasonal, and it's not necessarily because of seasons. A lot of it is because certain clam, I guess like farms overseas. This is just something I've heard because it's not something I typically purchase from, but they want you to buy something like 3,000 clams. Like 3,000 for a starting order. That's going to make any product seasonal. You're not going to make a lot of those types of purchases. I don't care who you are, at any size. That is a tremendously large quantity to have to deal with. And it's a tremendous risk as well. I mean, if you have a bad shipment of 3,000 clams, I mean, think of that for just a moment, right? So you'll see different outlets just have either a ton of clams, like infinite clams, or they'll have no clams, and it's because of that minimum purchase requirement. And that again, I'm talking about overseas more than anything. Like our source, you can buy one here and there, but generally speaking, it's like it's going to be the bigger guys buying a whole bunch. Now, it's like I said, I could buy them. They don't live here. Marcellus, sorry, Seabone Deluxe. Since this is Halloween, any horror stories you've heard about an LFS accidentally selling a dangerous cone snail to a customer? I have not heard of that. There's plenty of stuff that people can purchase that are not exactly great additions to a home aquarium. Cone snails would be bad. Blue ring octopus, bad. Again, that just goes to show you, do your research. There's a lot of good that comes through with that. The worst mentality to have when going to a local pet store and starting to shop is this idea of, oh, I've never seen that before. That is so unique. I want it. Oftentimes, there's a reason why you've never seen that before. Either it's terrible for your aquarium or it's terrible for you. That's why they're never shown. Yes, stonefish, not great. Yay, it's Aaron's Aquarium. What is up, Aaron's Aquarium? Thank you for joining. Another YouTuber. I'm sure many of you are familiar with his channel already. You look like a drunken master with that beer. Thank you. At this point, thanks. I guess it's better than Charles Manson or Chewbacca. Yeah, again with this Pachyceras, I like it a lot. I mean, I love the fact that it has these like highlights of pink that go on in like in the valleys. Very cool. Ricky Darth Blocks. What coral do you currently want the most? Like it's on the top of your wish list. That's a good question because I honestly have most of them. The problem is like the ones that we don't have that I would really like. The reason why we don't have them is simply because we don't have the systems that I would feel comfortable with keeping them in. So some of like the highest end niche Acropora, for example, you're talking like the Walt Disneys, the Home Wreckers, that sort of thing. I would like to to bring those in and grow them, but I'm kind of honest with myself and my systems here. And those types of corals tend to not do well, especially with our fluctuating parameters here. So once we have a dedicated SPS system that I'm very comfortable with, we're going to be getting into a lot more of that type of thing. But so if I had to answer the question, it's going to be some of the high-end SPS that we simply just can't keep because our systems aren't stable enough for it. Okay, Tree Guy, 1994. Can I buy Astrea snails with this coral order? Does it have to be a separate order? No, you can order stuff on the website that are regular stock items, as well as these live sale items. You can mix and match. It doesn't really matter. No, so you can go ahead and do that. That yellow Porites is very closed right now. Yeah, so like Porites, unlike a lot of the other SPS, they can actually get like a waxy film and shed a little bit as well. That little sheen that you're seeing there, yeah, that's what that's all about. scrolls there. So Devondell, I just got one of the Leptopavona combo. What is the best tank placement? You're gonna want to find it. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to flow, they're pretty versatile with flow. With lighting, you don't need a whole lot. So I would say medium to low lighting, medium to low flow. They're probably going to grow fine regardless of where you put it. The only thing that really kind of bothers like Leptoceras and things of that sort, it's going to be like quick chemical changes and way too much light. So just keep an eye out for that. You don't want to blast them with too much light. I'm really feeling... I've only had 2 beers this entire time over the course of like what looks like 2 hours. It's nice being a lightweight sometimes. You don't have to drink a whole lot. Oh man. So the only thing that I kind of wish is that if I knew about any kind of like Halloween parties going on in town here, but I don't know of any. Like I don't get out enough. I see some of my friends on Facebook and stuff like that. They're all getting dressed up too, but I have no idea where they're headed. Like one friend, like his like my friend and all her kind of like her group dressed up as all like the Star Wars characters. So she was Princess Leia, and all her other friends were like the different other, you know, people from Star Wars. It's kind of pretty cool. But no, not me. I get to go home and hang out with my cats and binge watch the rest of Stranger Things Season 2. Which, by the way, what do you guys think of that? Like, has anybody else done that yet? I mean, it just came out on Netflix, but I've been binging it since like last night. Dave Davis, does that make you a cheap date? If you can get a date with me, it would be cheap. Well, the drinking portion would be cheap. The rest of the meal, I can't speak to that. I like to go to nice restaurants. Sean Crewell, ever heard of a fire shrimp killing a skunk cleaner? Not really. Not really. That would be a very strange occurrence. Sometimes once like the shrimp get really large, I notice that they kind of just die of old age. And if that happens, I can see another shrimp making a quick meal of the dead one. Even when they fight, though, it's not really all that serious, I guess. I would have a hard time seeing a one shrimp hunting down and killing another, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's possible. So Trilla, what's the main difference between acans and Favia? Very different corals. So just off the top of my head, acans are going to be growing a lot quicker than Favia. But I guess their appearance is similar. Feeding, lighting, flow. All of those are going to be similar. But the growth rate, the polyp formation, things like that are going to be different. Coloration is going to be different, even though both come in like a multitude of colors. I would say that Favia might have like a more diverse color palette.
15.
Cichlid Passion. I was gonna start watching Stranger Things last night, but I'm gonna start watching this evening. Yeah, like I said, it just came out. It's pretty good. It's fun. I had a much better time with oh, what do you call it? Mindhunter. About the serial killers. I like that one a lot.
216.
What's the lifespan of a cleaner shrimp? Longest was 8 years. Sounds about right. They live a good long time, but once they get to that certain size, it's like, okay, one day you're gonna go from perfectly healthy to completely dead, and it's like, oh well. Sean Crewell, cool. I want each for my 75. I got a skunk cleaner, and my daughter would cry if it got killed. I wouldn't worry about 2 shrimp in a 75. I think that's perfectly good. I'm trying to think of who else I look like.
218.
You know who I think I look like right now? It's this music producer.
Johnny?
No, it's a music producer that he was like Rick Rubin. Do you guys know who what Rick Rubin looks like? He looks like a dude from ZZ Top almost, but he's like a music producer. Or alternatively, I look like a guy from ZZ Top. I'm probably showing my age. Those guys are probably ancient. Do you still watch Dark Mirror? I love Dark Mirror. I absolutely love Dark Mirror, and occasionally, at the gym. So my personal trainer, who also works here sometimes, his name's Sean. I've mentioned him a bunch of times. He has like a big screen TV, and sometimes he puts on Netflix, and he'll show like just some random stuff. And whenever like Dark Mirror comes on, the entire place just like stops exercising and just looks at the TV. It's like so mesmerizing. My absolute favorite when it comes to the Dark Mirror episodes is probably the one where like social media is completely rampant. We're having some closed Zoas here. You know what a radioactive dragonite looks like. Unfortunately, when we move Zoas over into this tank, you know, just the moving itself does not make them happy. But yeah, it's the one where like social media is like everything. So, you know, like people want to get good, favorable feedback from other people, and that affects like pretty much like their credit score, where they're able to live, what they're able to buy for a car, all this stuff. Deals with like, you know, their little rating. So I like that one a lot. I think it's called oh, I forget what it's called. That particular episode. It's like Downfall or something like that. I forget. Rob Zombie? Yeah. That's a good one too. I do look like Rob Zombie. Have you ever fragged a Space Invader? Is that a Space Invader what? There's a lot of different Space Invaders. I'm gonna guess you are maybe thinking of a Pectinia, possibly. And I'm not sure, but we have fragged plenty of Pectinia if that is indeed the coral that you're wondering about. So Steve Delgado, let me send over a couple of different Linkarinos here. So if you go to this live sale link here, hold on one sec, while that loads. You go to tidalgardens.com and here you go. Go right there. You can see a link for the directions as well as all the corals that are still available. and you would just check out just like it was any other item on the website. We're coming down the home stretch, guys. We're only going to be going to about 230 something? Something like that. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet. This particular Scully. Yeah, Ben was just saying it's got like white streaks and everything. It's been a while since we've had this many Scullies going on. For the longest time we didn't have any. Chaos General 1. What's the hardest to frag coral in your opinion? I mean, there's like stuff that people frag that like they really shouldn't. Like, I guess this thing here just expelled. That's kind of cool. You could try to frag a Scully, for example, and people have done it. It's not a great idea, but people have done it. That would be pretty difficult. But stuff to hear that we do propagate regularly that's difficult is some chalices, like blue moon chalices and things like that. They don't do that well as soon as you cut them, and that's kind of the issue there. They're hard to glue down as well. Stuff that's so the hardest things hard to glue down is like probably the #1 problem. Jared say, could you pair a picture or the name of the corals with the number on the website after the live sale, even after 1 to 2 day period is good? Unfortunately, we can't, just because the labor involved with that. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but part of the reason why we're able to do lower prices in general on the live show is because we don't have to go into every single item and update pictures and prices, or pictures and names and stuff like that. So unfortunately, no, we can't do that, because also in a couple days the live show is essentially over. Now, what might be easier and more possible is to do a list, like in the YouTube comments, with a time code for each one. So at the very least, you can at least select a time code to see if, oh, I forget what number 45 is. Let me just click on that in the YouTube comment. Perhaps that would be possible, but again, part of the reasons for the savings is that that's not done. Okay, time for last minute questions, you guys. Okay, Ellery Wong, how do you differentiate Cynarina versus an endophilia? So, to me, Cynarina tend to have, I guess the bubbles aren't necessarily more separate, but they're more defined. They're more individual. Whereas an endophilia almost looks more like a scolemia or an acanthophilia that happens to be more transparent, if that makes any sense at all. They do look very similar. Like some of them are hard to differentiate. It's more likely that you're looking at a Cynarina rather than an endophilia. Endophilia tend to be very rare. How long does this live show last? Good question. This live show lasts until about Wednesday when we take it down. Okay, last two. Okay, so it's going to be, the first one is going to be Codium here, which is this guy. It is a macroalgae. We have 50 units for potentially, if people want to take us up for on it, it's $1. This sort of thing isn't readily consumed by herbivores, so it makes like a good decorative macroalgae for your refugium. And lastly, we've got some bubble tips. So let me go over here. Bubble tips. Boom. Alrighty. And that is it for the Halloween live show. Pretty good timing too. I think we did it in what looks like 2 hours and 30 minutes. So okay, Dominic Martino. Can you group Chalice together? No. No, don't do that. Chalice are highly aggressive. Now I've seen some folks, I've seen some friends even have like Chalice and they run right into each other and it's fine. In our experience here, it's a lot more likely to go sideways. It's gonna go, they're gonna touch and both colonies just die back off. So no, I wouldn't recommend that at all. Let's see. Let me give a quick shout out to the Patreon crowd. Thank you guys. I think it's time to go now. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And for those over there that actually do celebrate Halloween, have a very good night. Take care.